Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Pastor Hope Mercy from the House of Hope in Kyle, Texas. I want to say bless you for spending some of your precious time with me. If you celebrated, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. If you celebrate another custom or holiday this time of year, I hope it was wonderful as well. Before I get on with my little talk, I want to take a moment to thank Tom for the wonderful work he's doing with Gay Talk Radio. It looks like he's getting some help from Jeffy Jeff. I'm so glad to see that happening. I thought the song was appropriate because we're going to talk a little bit about stars. But first, we're going to talk about archaeologists. You know, those folks that dig around trying to find ancient artifacts and sites. You know, before I get going here, I just want to be sure you're comfortable. I want you to relax for a little bit and so that you can just listen carefully. Archaeologists have provided us with ancient carvings and writings depicting the sun as something which was once worshipped. Some of these carvings and writings date back 10,000 years before Christ was born. Surely at some point the sun was considered supernatural or was considered a god. Just for the heck of it, let's call those people sun worshippers. Now let's try a little experiment. And we want to think about the sun worshippers because these four phrases seem appropriate. Here they are. The sun brought warmth. The sun brought light. The sun made plants grow. The sun provided life. The sun worshippers thought all these things. Now, let's just for our little experiment now, we're going to take the letter O out of the word sun. And we're going to put the letter O in where the letter U is. Instead of sun, S-U-N, we're going to change the word to sun, S-O-N. And we just say the same phrases again, but this time we're using S-O-N. The sun brought warmth. The sun brought light. The sun made plants grow. The sun provided life. Let us continue thinking about those sun worshippers. And we want to combine that thought with the thought of the winter solstice. You know what the winter solstice is, the shortest day of the year. It's on this day in late December that the sun is at its lowest point in the sky. Now, since these sun worshippers thought the sun was a god, they must have thought the darkness was a god or supernatural. In other words, the sun is light and night is darkness. We therefore have the battle between good and evil. As far as the sun worshippers are concerned, remember, we're thinking about the sun worshippers. After all, the sun worshippers already know the sun is good. So the winter solstice is the climax of the battle between good and bad, as far as the sun worshippers are concerned. You see, after the summer solstice, back in the summer now, the days grow shorter. They start getting shorter. After the summer solstice, our days start getting shorter and shorter. This directly relates to the fact that the sun is moving towards the horizon. In other words, darkness seems to be winning the battle, if you ask the sun worshippers, because the sun is slowly dropping down, giving less and less daylight with each coming day. But around December 22nd is the start up of the winter solstice, and the sun stops moving down. The sun levels off for 3 days. Remember that number. For 3 days, the sun levels off. It doesn't go down anymore. And the sun worshippers are worried. But after those 3 days, on what a coincidence, that's December 25th, Christmas Day. But the sun is resurrected and begins to rise. After 3 days of laying there, it's starting to come back up again. Oh, the sun worshippers think it's time for a celebration, because good has finally conquered evil. The sun has been reborn. This astrological event is the basis for many religious events throughout the history of man. Other astrological events are also related, but we'll get to that. Don't let me get ahead of myself. We're going to move on down the road. So, in this specific instance regarding the winter solstice, the astrological event that happens, the sun seems to die for 3 days, and after that 3 days it's resurrected. And this directly correlates to many holy figures throughout the history of man, or one might say, the gods of man. For example, around 3,000 years before Christ, there was an Egyptian god named Horus. Horus, the sun god. Horus, the sun god, obviously represented light. But through discoveries that our scientists and archaeologists have found, Horus had an enemy named Set. Set represented darkness or night. In their daily battles, Horus would lose the battle in the evening, and darkness would prevail until morning, when Horus would return victorious, and daylight would prevail until it repeated itself every day. And this is the tale of the Egyptian god, which existed 3,000 years before Christ. Interestingly enough, Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis. His birth was followed by a star in the east. Upon his birth, he was adored by 3 kings. He was a teacher at the age of 12, and at the end of 30, he was baptized and began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples and went around performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was also known as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and other similar names. After Horus was betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified. He was buried for 3 days and then resurrected. Other gods of man include Attis of Greece. 1,200 years before Christ, Attis of Greece came into existence. He was born of a virgin on December 25th. He was crucified, entombed, and resurrected 3 days later. Around that same time, 1,200 years before Christ, Mithra of Persia was born of a virgin on December 25th. Mithra had 12 disciples and performed miracles. After death, he was buried, and after 3 days was resurrected. Mithra was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many other similar names. The sacred day of worship for Mithra was Sunday. 900 years before Christ, Krishna of India came into existence, born of a virgin, with the star of the east showing his birth. He and his disciples performed miracles, and after death he was resurrected. Around 500 years before Christ, Dionysus appeared in Greece. Dionysus was born of a virgin on December